All right, so here we have the Juanes 100. I tried to construct this based off the picture you shared with me. I've got some ideas for how to modify it so it can make orbit a little bit easier, but we'll see how this version flies here. Throttle all our liquid engines for later on. Turn on SAS for stability. And let's give it a launch. So these 4 boosters are very powerful, probably more than we need for a single stage at the bottom. We'll likely get up very fast. How fast exactly, I'm not sure. We're passing Mach 1, the speed of sound already. Not touching the controls, just letting Jebediah fly with SAS on. We are starting to ionize the air, burning up with fire, because we are quickly approaching Mach 4 times the speed of sound. That is incredibly fast. Drop these engines away. Not firing yet, because I think we probably already have the height we need. Yeah, we're above 70,000, at least in our flight trajectory. So to get orbit, I actually want to turn sideways, 90 degrees towards the east here. And once we're right between the brown and the blue on the nav ball, we are firing at the horizon. And we should see our orbit start to circularize. So getting to space is easy. It's staying in space that's hard. And staying in space requires going sideways extremely fast. So actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my engines here, hit X to turn off the throttle. And I'm going to wait till I'm closer to the apoapsis, because as I'm burning sideways, even doing that's going to increase my height. So since I don't need any more height, I'm going to save the fuel for all sideways motion. And let's time warp a little bit till we get closer to that apoapsis. And still facing sideways. Let's relight those engines. Hitting Z to throttle them up instantly. And I'm just going to watch from here until we get a nice orbit. Yeah, it looks like you will have the fuel to orbit. It might only be just enough. Oh, we don't see the periapsis yet. It's just coming above and stopping it here. So once we're above 70,000 meters, we have orbit. We're not touching the atmosphere anymore. Yeah, so this design that you have can make orbit, but just barely, it seems. So let's go around the planet for fun. Whee! All right, if we want to come home, what you'll want to do is turn around retrograde. That means backwards. So this yellow circle, that is prograde. That means forward, the direction you're already traveling. If I were to turn the engines on here, it would make this part of the orbit come out, so the orbit would get bigger. On the other side of the nav ball, if you swing around, you're going to see a similar green circle with an X in it. The X means retrograde, or backwards. If I turn the engines on here, this is actually going to drop lower. So let's... Actually, I'm going to throttle it up just a tiny bit. Just the babyest amount, and watch this start to fall. Go a little bit stronger than that. And I'm going to cut it off right around, we'll say, 40,000 to 30,000 meters. That's going to be deep enough in the atmosphere that the air will actually slow us down. So here we'll be able to come home. We don't really need this stage anymore, so let's ditch it. Goodbye. Now, the only problem I can see is I like the heat shield here that you have. That's going to be very important. We'd probably die if we didn't have that when we come back into the air. Let's run our science. The problem is this Science Junior is very light. So because it's not heavy, when the air comes pushing it, it's going to want to flip us this way because it's going to act almost as a tail fin because it's so light compared to the command module. So I might really have to wrestle this to keep that heat shield facing forward. But let's give it a try. So let's time warp. Time warp should stop once I get to 70,000 feet, or 70,000 meters rather. There we go. So now we're just starting to dip into the air now, below 70,000. So let's get ourselves turned retrograde. And the air is very thin. It's not till after maybe 50,000 that you start to notice effects of it. All right, crossing 50,000. Yep, slow time warp down. So now we're starting to get air heating. You can see we're catching some flame on the Science Junior. It's starting to get damaged and burn up. So let's orient ourselves retrograde. Perfectly retrograde. You can even hit this little retrograde button here, and it'll... Oh, there goes the camera. Hang on. If you hit this retrograde button with SAS turned on, it'll orient you automatically to the retrograde orientation. And as a small tweak, you don't need to know this too much, but there is a slight difference between your orientation orbit versus the surface. So right now, we're retrograde relative to orbit and surface. They're almost the same, but slightly different. You can see the slight difference there. We want to be oriented to surface because that is the direction the air is actually coming from, since the air is attached to the surface of the planet and is rotating with it. All right, let's check our heat shield. We're doing fine. We're losing a little bit of durability on the ablator, but that is its job. Its job is to burn up in the atmosphere so the rest of the craft doesn't have to. Wonder if Jeb can see any of the flames from inside the vehicle. Not quite. Can see... I got some mods installed for clouds. They're pretty slick. I'm hesitant to speed up time warp because I think if I speed up time warp, this whole craft could flip out of control pretty easily. And I do not want fire touching the rest of it. I only want the heat and flames to touch the heat shield. You can hear the sonic booms there. Looks like we'll probably be landing in the darkness, so that'll be alright. Hopefully. And slowly we're burning off that speed, slowing down, letting the atmosphere do the work for us. If we were to come straight in, we might have crashed. So you want to come in kind of at like an angle. So we're going this way. If we were to come in like straight down, like zoop, that would probably not be good. And I just realized I have the main parachutes and the drogues on the same stage. That's probably not good. I probably want to do the drogues first. So I might have to activate those manually. Oh, come on. Can't see what I'm doing here. Drogue shoot. There we go. Deploy. And like you helped me find out, if you click this up at the top, this is sea level. And this is level above land, so typically level above land is what I want. I'm glad that you found that for me, because otherwise I would have to be checking this radar altitude gauge, which is a lot harder. And I think it's almost safe. It's still risky. Oh no, yeah, it's safe actually to turn on this parachute now. So let's go ahead and do that. The space bar. And we can speed up pretty safely here. This parachute should open fully once we get to 1,000 meters. 2,000 or so for the drogues, and then 1,000 for the main chute. Okay, we're slowing down. Our speed is, still 7 meters a second. That might cause some damage. I could try dropping away the heat shield to lessen the load here. There goes the heat shield. Still going about 6 meters a second. The Science Junior is probably going to blow up. I don't know if it can survive an impact above 5 meters a second, so I might need some more parachutes here. There's the explosion from the heat shield hitting something. And we'll speed this up a bit. It might survive. We'll see. Getting close. Let's take off time warp. Get some flowers down there. Oh yeah, so that that blew up. So that's all right. That could be fixed by either having some landing legs. Well, the landing legs do cause drag, so you could go slower if you had those. Or probably the better option is more parachutes I should put on here. So let's recover that and make some changes. Because it's very possible that we cut it so close with fuel that orbit might not always be possible, let alone getting back. I was pretty lucky we were able to get home with that design. But some recommendations to make this a much stronger ship. Is first of all, this core stage we can, because these things are so bang powerful, they can actually lift more weight. So let's actually take this whole core stage off and just add a little bit more to it. So let's get just a tiny bit more. So it's tank here. Let's get the swivel engine. Let's get a decoupler on that. And then let's attach this whole stack back to it. Can lift the rocket up a little bit. Alright, let's check our staging first. Let's get the drogue chutes on a different stage. So those are these guys here. Yep, so those are looking good. The bottom stage should be all these 4 boosters. Yep. Then this is wrong. So the 4 boosters should detach and the bottom engine should light. So these can be on the same stage. So those detach and the bottom one lights. Then after that, that detaches and this rocket lights. And that's our final burn stage. And then finally at the end we can just detach the bottom half of everything. Alright, so that is going to give us some extra range. The boosters, I'm still concerned, might be a little too powerful. I don't want to actually catch on fire on the way up. That indicates we're losing efficiency. Yeah, so the thrust to weight ratio, 2.37, is way too high. We want that down to maybe 1.5 to avoid losing fuel to drag. All that catching on fire in Mach 4 was just, we're wasting too much energy punching through the atmosphere. So I can actually limit these boosters in how powerful their thrust is until I get this maybe around 1.5, 1.47. Yeah, so that's close enough. So again, if I right-click these, the thrust limiters should be on for all of them now. Yep. And now our bottom stage has a thrust to weight ratio of 1.47. That's much better. So we're going to burn slower. It's going to be a slower launch. But overall, we're going to save fuel because we're not going to be slowed down so much by the atmosphere. All right, we'll call this the Juanes 101. Let's give it a launch. All right, turn our stability assist on. I can hit the T key to do that. I'm going to throttle up so our liquid engines are ready later, and spacebar to launch. So you can see we are accelerating much slower here. The air really is thick lower in the atmosphere, so going too fast wastes fuel, believe it or not. Another thing you can do to save more fuel is to... we're shaking a bit, probably from these fins trying to overcorrect on SAS. I'm actually going to turn SAS off for a second here and just manually fly this guy. It's a little unstable, probably need fins or struts in different places. Alright, let's turn SAS back on. Should be okay now that we're higher. Sorry, I had to wrestle that for a second. What you can do is start tilting a little bit as you're going up. It will save fuel, but it's a little bit harder to control when you do that. I'm just going to do the method where we fire straight up and then turn. Alright, so boosters are gone. Let me check the map. We need to get to at least 70,000 meters to be in space. And I will start kind of turning a little bit here. Alright, we're up to 80, so I'm going to cut the engines here. Let's try and turn this big old vehicle. We got a lot of fuel this time. Turn it so we're pointing at the horizon here. And start burning to circularize around the planet. And we can even just watch from out here. So I could have waited a little bit until I was closer to the apoapsis to be a little more efficient, but it's fine. We can just start burning here. You want to really burn perfectly sideways because you want to get a nice, fast orbit around the planet. All right, we used the bottom stage, now we have this upper stage. And I'll take this opportunity to show one more thing here. I'm going to cut the engines. If you're on the map, you can click a point in the orbit, like here to add a maneuver, and you can kind of drag your prograde and retrograde markers to kind of preview. I don't know if you can see it on this screen, but preview the orbit that you're going to have if you burn there. So here I kind of drag this out to plan my orbit. And that will show me exactly how long I need to burn for. So down here at the bottom right, I'm going to burn for 14 seconds in order to get that orbit that I planned here. And I'm going to reach that point where I need to start the burn in about 40 seconds. So let's time warp a little bit. And we've got about 7 seconds to go. I'm actually going to start here. So we burn 7 seconds ahead of it and 7 seconds behind it. I'm going to aim at this maneuver node. This blue indicator shows you your planned orbit that you set up. And I'm going to cut my engines off right there. So that should be very close to an orbit. Yeah, so here we have a nice wide orbit. And we have significantly more fuel. So not a lot more, because I didn't add that much more fuel or make that many changes to the craft. But now we still have about 10% of this final stage's fuel left. That gives us much more wiggle room in terms of getting to orbit and getting back from orbit. And one day, if we make a bigger craft, we could get to the moon.